Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Lisa Natoli. Welcome to our Friday morning Course in Miracles class. I am so grateful to you guys. Hey, Arthur, Arthur's on the camera, and Bill Free. Can you roll it over there for the cake? There's like 4 different kinds of cake over there. Oh my God. And a party and all this food. I have raw chocolate cake, vanilla cake, a strawberry cake from Popovers. This thing rocks. What's this? Oh my God. Who made this?
Oh, me. Oh, that was.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sandwiches. I love it. So thank you. So today I'm going to be talking about Cameo number 18 from A Course in Miracles. It's about meditation and guidance. And I was going to do Cameo number 14. These are essays that are in the back of the latest version of A Course in Miracles. There's, I think, 33 essays, and they're all about the early stories of Jesus in the mind of Helen Schucman in the 1960s, giving those early instructions to Helen Schucman and Bill Thetford about how to hear God's voice, how to forgive, how to see things differently. So a lot of that, really nobody's heard about all these years because these were just private notes that were to the 2 of them in Helen's private journals. And they were also part of notes because there was a group of individuals that were really there present. The only person still living today who was there as part of that original group is John Mundy. He's a dear friend of ours. Many of us here know him. And he is going to be at Vicki Thomas's house on June 2nd with Rod Shellberg. How many of you guys know Rod? He's awesome. And Rod is a physician, and has major mystical experiences. And so Rod and Shellberg and John Mundy are going to be at Vicki Thomas's house on June 2nd. You're all invited. And then I think it's an all-day event. I think it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Does anybody know the exact time?
Bonnie had flyers, but I didn't get to pick them up.
So okay.
I don't know what time it is.
Okay, so yeah, we don't know exactly, but just check my website. It's on my website, lisanatoli.com. And then the 2 of them are going to be in Portland, Maine on June 3rd. And they're doing a workshop and teaching at Unity up there in Portland. So if you guys really want to go really see some amazing teachers, but John was there during those early days in the 1970s. And those stories are now available to all of us. So today what I wanted to do, I was looking at Cameo number 14, which is so good. It's about the miscreation of thought, how the first error thought that you have you go bump, 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 right down the stairs into the next error thought, next error thought, next error thought, next error thought, so that you have to be vigilant to catch that first error thought before you go crashing right down into darkness. So I was going to do that one, and I probably will touch on it a little bit today. But then a few days ago, I just opened the course up and it landed on Cameo number 18, which is about meditation and guidance. And I wanted to talk about that today because meditation is not in A Course in Miracles. It's a mind training course. And I find it fascinating that he spends so much time in this Cameo that I'm going to read today about meditation. And the second part is guidance. And that has to do with Bill Thetford's problem with hearing God's voice, because he's often frustrated that he doesn't hear the voice the way Helen Schuckman hears it. And so Jesus is addressing both of those problems, Helen's problem with meditation and Bill's problem and difficulty with guidance. And it's so relevant to all of us. So I'm going to be talking about that today. And I'm going to invite Laura up to do our daily reading from Cafe Gratitude. And she is looking stunning. Look at you. You're my sunshine. Oh, I love it. Ah.
All right, now you can hear me? Can you hear me? All right. So this is from Cafe Gratitude, and this is from May 4th today. And it says, to keep a lamp burning, we have to keep putting oil in it. That's from Mother Teresa. And so here's something to think about. When you share something, where does it go anyway? And so for me, when I share anything, and I do share a lot, because, you know, I'm in AA, and I share a lot, it goes right back to me. That's what happens because you are me. And so I try to share spiritual stuff and light stuff. And I know that it takes a lot of mind training because there were years where I didn't share good stuff. And I know that if I say anything to you, I say this all the time to the women I sponsor. If I say something bad to you, it's like whipping a boomerang and hitting you in the head, and it comes right back and hits me because I just talked to me. So I have to always try to remember that what I'm sharing is coming back to me tenfold. So I would rather share happiness and love. And so I choose happy today because you have a choice when you wake up. Are you going to let instinct run your life, or are you going to let your spiritual awakening run your life? And I choose happy because we get a choice. Thank you.
Yay.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you so much. I love you.
Love you too.
So that's it. You know, we have a choice. We have a choice whether we're going to multiply illusions or we're going to extend the truth. And the choice is up to us. So now I'd like to invite everyone to rise and...
No, we're going to change that.
Okay. I want to say hey to the live streamers.
We're going to change the... Hi. We're going to change the meet and greet a little bit this morning.
Okay.
Just for celebration of Lisa's 50th birthday. It's kind of a celebration event. And I'm going to put this mic here for each of you. And anyone that wants to come up and just say something short and sweet, or any kind of thing you want to say to or for Lisa, just come on up to the mic.
Short.
Yeah. Whoever wants to say something.
I do want everyone to rise, though. I don't know.
Rise and bow to Lisa.
No.
I love you.
I just want to say,
Is this on?
I just want to say happy 50th birthday to the woman who gave me the program that kicked me from reading A Course in Miracles to find out what it said, to experimenting and living with it, and it just keeps expanding.
Oh, thank you. Gwen.
I want to say thank you and happy birthday. So 3 years ago, I did the 40-day program, and I did it twice. And it allowed me to challenge everything, I think. And it opened me up. And thank you for introducing me to the course.
Oh, thank you so much. Yay. John Wernsdorf in the house.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Let me give
you.
you
I
another
love
hug. Yeah. And I just want to say that you raised the consciousness of everything.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, you raised the consciousness of everything. Thank you. Shirley the Presence. I love you.
Lisa the Presence.
Oh, thank you.
I honor you, Lisa, on your birthday. And I just want to say, I've been coming to the Course in Miracles for probably 20 years. But I didn't start really going from my head to my heart until you and Bill came along. And I really appreciate everything you taught me.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's really good to be here.
Oh,
And I
thank
wish
you. I love you. I want to do a big shout out to Nancy Fitzgerald about from the head to the heart, because that actually came from you, Nancy, back in the day when you looked at all the materials for Living in Purpose, and it was that idea. Like, what's the Teachers of God Foundation? It was, we wanted to invite people to get out of their head from intellectually thinking about these ideas to moving yourself into the heart, where you're really experiencing the love that you are. Miss Irene, I love you.
Miss Lisa, I love you too. Let's just grin at each other. I totally agree with what everyone else said. The thing that I want to add to it is that I totally appreciate the courage with which you stand in truth. It's very, very frightening to go out and say, this is what I believe, this is what I think. You set yourself up for all kinds of ridicule and attacks. So you are being Jesus, and I love it.
Thank you so much. I love you, I love you, I love you. Now let's all rise and meet in church. Okay.
That might take 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so, I mean, everybody just really exemplified what I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to try not to cry.
That's true.
Well, your 50 years, what it means to me. I was just thinking about it on the ride here, and you know, when I cracked your book open, and I didn't know you, I didn't even know we lived in the same vicinity. It was like electricity came into my life, and it just kept going. And you know, I've been with you for a while now. I feel like I never told you this, but whenever I sit here, I'm like, I'm her Ed McMahon. I love being her Ed McMahon. So I feel like, you know, gradually I became your Ed McMahon, and I get to support what you do.
Yeah.
And you know, you do all these online programs. Only about 20% of the people are on Facebook. The rest we never hear from. But the testimonies, the transformations, the people in here, me. Like, I don't know if you actually understand the light and the love and the change that you single-handedly have made in this world. Because I know for myself, it's gone to my kids and it's gone out to my circle. So I want you to really, we can't even conceptualize. It's immeasurable what you've done. You really are Jesus' hands and feet. Like, you step in. And I've met so many teachers in my life, whether it's in school, and you're usually like disillusioned after a while because we're all in this human experience. But I get to be besties with you, and not a second have I ever been disillusioned. You walk it. You still, after knowing you and you being my confidant and my friend, you still are my favorite teacher. You still see me cry up here every time. You just are
I love this
amazing.
lady. Do we love her?
So and it's so funny because in 50 years, look what, we don't even know, we can't even conceptualize what you've done just by stepping into your purpose and your job here and showing us all how to do it too. And so I was thinking that when I fly with you, like when we've gone on trips, I never even put my seatbelt on, really. Like, I know you are so, like, needed, like you're doing God's will. I'm like, there's no way this plane's going down if Lisa's in it. I'm like, the wing could fall off, we could hit a tornado, I got no seatbelt on. So I just know your work isn't finished, and I'm just proud and honored to walk with you and be your educator.
I love you. Thank you. I was thinking when I met Linda, so Bill and I had just come to Unity for the first time. I had just moved back to this area. I literally had no friends. I didn't know anybody. I don't think I had a website. I don't think the foundation was going yet. I don't think there was any online stuff. And Linda had read my book, Gorgeous for God. It was her favorite book ever. And her mother saw we were here in Unity, and Joanne knew Bill and I were together. She must have seen pictures of us, and she saw the back of Bill's head in Unity, and she's like, I think that's, all she saw was his bald head, and she was like, I think that's Bill Free. And then her eye went next to Bill and went, oh my God, it's Lisa Natoli. And then told Linda, and so Linda came up to me later. She was like a #1 fan, and she was so nervous. And then she said, "I'd like for you to come to dinner to our home." And I was like, "Oh my God, really? I have no friends. Oh my God, thank you so much." I was like, "Yeah, I can come whenever you want. This week, okay?" So thank you, Monica.
Lisa,
I love you.
I love you so much. I should hug you. We've been through a lot together.
I know.
It's your birthday. Thank you. Happy birthday. I can't believe it, the parallel things that we've been through. But to see you come into your own and shine like this over the last several years is just extraordinary. And I just want to congratulate you for that, and being willing to really step in, take the bull by the horns, and be the master teacher that you are. Because that's what we all are. You see it in Lisa, it's because it's in you. So just realize that, that we're all here to shine this light for each other. And what else are we going to do?
Exactly. And I just want to say a big shout out to Monica, because we are needed here. Like when I was living in New York City and I had the book, somewhere deep in my heart I knew that it was true, but I was not having even one reflection of a person in a body in this world who was living the message. And no one knew about it. I was going to Course in Miracles groups, and they were all talking about what the book means. I didn't know a single person who'd had that experience of there is no world. Not one. I knew people were talking about it, and people were using A Course in Miracles to have a better life, to get miracles, to heal the body. And in my living room in New York City, I demanded of God to bring me a person. I needed a real person in a human body who knew the message and who could take me there, who could take me across the veil, over the veil. And that week is when Greta showed up. This woman, Greta, who I always talk about, she showed up in my Course in Miracles group. And she was from an academy in Wisconsin, and I met you the next week. So Monica, that was in 2000. She came from Wisconsin on a very regular basis. You actually moved there for big chunks of time, like months at a time, her and a small group of other people, like 5 other people, paying their own money. I thought these guys were totally rich, because I'm like, how are they flying back and forth from Wisconsin to New York? And I didn't realize it was a dedication that was just really saying, this is what I do. Like, I'm here to bring the light to this world. And I'm so grateful, because it was those were my first introductions of the message alive in someone. And that's what's called for all of us, is like we're now seeing, like maybe you see it in me now, or you see it in someone else. We start, and it's a quickening. Like I can see when I get the email messages, and you guys on live stream, is more and more people are stepping into this experience of saying, okay, I'm not there totally, but I know enough how to choose love over fear. Like Bill gave me an angel for my birthday yesterday. It was one of those willow tree angels, and it said courage. And I love it, because the reason he gave me courage is because he said he sees me, and he sees all of us are receiving guidance, all of us. And usually the guidance that we receive defies logic. It just does. Like the voice that's coming to you, because it's trying to dismantle you and get you out of your fixed position of who you think you are as an identity in time and space. So the guidance that you're receiving is coming from you. It's coming from your highest self. And it really does defy logic. I've been told to give all my money away. I meet someone and they're like, give this much. And it will leave me with $10, and it's like, okay. Like, it's just like, well, I don't know, okay. And that happens so consistently, and I still don't always trust the voice. I loved last week with Kelly Russell, am I hearing spirit or am I hearing ego? And we're going to talk about that today. So sometimes I don't know. Like, I think, I don't know, is this some of the things I'm being invited to do, go to Europe or go here or go there or say this or make this phone call or do this. I think, I don't know, but I sit with it and I move. And so Bill gave me the courage angel because he said, I see it so consistently in you where you trust in that voice, where it just defies logic. Like, how will I survive, or what will happen to me if I do this thing? And what I know to be true now, you can trust in that voice. You can't make a mistake. You can't. Even if the voice is ego and you make a mistake, it's like it's constantly on autocorrect. You will know in moments of you making a move that was not from spirit, because you will know it, right? And so it's more and more like you're starting, this is a mind training course. That's what I'm going to read today. It's a mind watching course. So we're going to snip out the meet and greet for now. We'll meet and greet afterwards because I want to make sure that I have time for what I want to share. And I just love you all. And this is a great awakening. And we need to be together. Like, Monica and I were with a master teacher in Wisconsin I was there for 10 years. She was there for longer than that. He always said, stay together. Was that the number one thing he said? Stay together, stay in love. He said it every day. Stay together, stay in love. And there was 250 of us there at that academy. We came from around the world. And it really was like a microcosm of what Jesus says in the Manual for Teachers, of the teachers of God. Who are they? They come from all religions and no religions. They come together, but they have one common thing that unites them all, is that they have seen in one brother something not separate from themselves. And that was what it was like at the academy. And yet we would fight among each other. What I feel like it's like the early days of an awakening, where, I love you so much, where the way I think about it, it's almost like the one mind that we share was very compacted. And over the years, thousands of years, there have been individuals that come as a light into that one mind that's so tight. Like, I'm a body, I have separate interests, I have needs. And individuals come and they loosen up the mind that we all share. So Jesus, St. James, Francis of Assisi, I mean, there's so many, Buddha, Gandhi, I mean, there's so many, Martin Luther King, I mean, there's this Mother Teresa, I mean, and common everyday people that we never even hear about. But they're living their life in such a way of choosing love over every situation that the one mind that's in every mind starts to loosen up a little bit. And so the way that it's described in A Course in Miracles is that there's a quickening then. So as the mind gets freer and freer, people around the world who never even have heard about A Course in Miracles and who don't even need it are suddenly having awakening experiences, and they don't know how. But it's because of you. It's because of your dedication and your commitment. And so back at the academy, people would call up the master teacher on the phone and tell him stories about other people and the relationships and the fighting, and he would stay in our session room and scream at us, like, how the fuck, excuse my language, do you think you are going to carry this message out into the world and you can't even get along with each other? How do you think you are going to carry this message out there when you can't even get along with your brother? And so this is the point where we can really see that this is a very individual path where you are looking very clearly and specifically at the conflict that's in your own mind. So I just wanted to ask you to open. How many of you still get sucked into other people's dramas?
Never.
And this requires honesty. I know, never. I never. I'm so perfect. And this path requires honesty. So the first characteristic of a teacher of God is trust, because the guidance that you're going to get is going to defy logic. What you will be asked to do goes against the entire thought system of a human being. The second characteristic of a teacher of God is honesty. So one of probably the main sticking point that I see in myself over the years, and then in other people as I am as a teacher, is people come into a spiritual path and they try to be spiritual. So when I ask the question, how many of you get sucked into other people's dramas, spiritual people go, oh, not me. That's not honest. Yes, of course, we all get sucked into other people's dramas. So people say, I'm disappointed in you. How many of you have that? You should be another way. Explain yourself. Okay, let's use that one. How many of you have had somebody call you on something and say, you did this, explain yourself? Right? We all have that.
Are you talking recently?
Yeah, this morning. And just in general, like the things that we get sucked into that seem very real. Like we really believe that the situations and the people in our lives are calling us to say something or do something or think something, and we really believe we have to do that, right? And we just think that's just normal. Well, what I'm going to show you today is that the first step is to recognize, okay, like, where am I before I make a move? Like, what's my location before I get dragged down into this situation? And the second thing is, how many of you still get sucked into your own thoughts and feelings and emotions? So you still have the thought, I'm not doing it right, I'm not good enough. And the way you know if you just got sucked off your center is by the way you feel. So you feel overwhelmed, you feel angry, you feel irritated, you feel frustrated, and you feel guilty, you feel shame, because I'm supposed to be walking the talk and I'm feeling this way, so I guess I'm not a very good spiritual person. And the only thing you can do in that space is project your guilt. That's it. Like when you're in that location, like I always talk about your point of viewing. What's your point where you're standing in the place where you look out? So wherever you're standing from, love or fear, that's what you're going to see. So I still see people attacking each other. I still see the news. I don't have my head in the sand. I see all of that. But my location always sees possibility. It always only sees people who don't know what they're doing. And then the mind training is that I can really see, that's for me to heal, because there's one mind. So when I see it out there, they don't have to heal it. I heal it for them, because I share their mind. So now there's forgiveness, constantly letting the past go. So this morning I was, I have a morning routine where I get up, get my coffee, get back into bed. And this morning I was looking at those early lessons. They're brilliant. On day, is there anybody here who doesn't know A Course in Miracles or who has never done the workbook lessons? Yeah, what? That's awesome. So good. And so the workbook lessons are 365 lessons designed to take you from the place where you think you are in fear and as a body and lead you home, which is within. Lesson 5, we're only on day 5. I'm never upset for the reason I think. Day 5, like he doesn't waste any time at all. If I'm upset by anyone or anything, I'm never upset for the reason I think. Lesson number 6, I'm upset because I see something that's not there. I just got chills. That's amazing. I'm upset because I see something that's not there. And the only thing that the mind can do is tell a story. Like it thinks it's upset. You're off center. You're literally over here when you should be here, living as the truth and the wholeness and the innocence and the love that you are that God created. But you're over here as a limited self-identity, alone, afraid, scared, helpless, weak, irritated. And the only thing that you can do is justify your position. That's just what naturally happens. It's not wrong. But I love the messages I see on Facebook. And I told this one woman yesterday, I feel like I have my superpower Christ vision glasses on all the time. And when people talk to me, I hear everything they say, but I'm filtering. That's what it feels like to me. And when I read things, I'm like scanning. And I'm always loving there, and there's always truth in every single message, no matter what. So this one woman was posting about so much gratitude in this letter and so much joy, and then she said towards the end, I could sense that there was a problem. I could sense from the longness of the letter and that it was more than just a letter of gratitude. And then she got to the crux of it, which was like, I have a money problem. And I zoomed right in there. I said, okay, well, that's the only blocking point right there. Nobody has a money problem. You have a separation problem. So correct the separation problem. Like, you think you're alone. You don't know the presence and the power and the intelligence that is with you. Like, if you knew who walks with you, fear would be impossible. That's why I can give my money away. Because I know there's like a whole storehouse coming, but if I block it, if I start to go, oh, I need this, then I've blocked the flow, not of the money, but of the knowledge that I'm not alone. I now think I'm alone, and now I have to handle everything myself. And so I just love these early lessons because it says, I was writing, this is my journal. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm upset because I see something that's not there. My thoughts do not mean anything. That's funny, right? My thoughts do not mean anything. All the thoughts that you're having, they don't mean anything. And you know what lesson 8 says? That when you're thinking about the past or the future, your mind is actually blank. And you think you're thinking thoughts. And then it says, the past is not here. To think about it at all is to think about illusions. But what do we spend our time doing? We spend almost all our time thinking about people, places, and things and what they did from before this moment. So to think about these things is to think about illusions. And then I love the workbook lesson. I really encourage anyone who's done them before and still experiencing difficulty to do them again. That's my suggestion. That's what the master teacher used to say to us. he would just say, do them again. Because the way I think about it, it's kind of like you sign up for a gym membership and you only go sometimes. And when you do go, you read the magazines and you hang out in the spa in the locker room. You know, like you're not actually going to the gym and flexing your muscles. You're saying you're going to the gym and you have a gym membership, but you're not actually like doing anything. So my suggestion, if you're still experiencing all of those emotions and you're confused and you're angry and you're irritated, and do them again. You know, like a year's going to go by anyways, right? So you might as well make a commitment, because they have fill in the blanks. So you can commit yourself to a 1-year training program to find all the thoughts. So even this morning, I've been on this path a long time. I have a whole list in here of my own attack thoughts. My own attack thought. And they, for me, they have to do with I'm not doing enough. I'm failing people. I'm not responding to the emails because there's so many. And I'm not thanking people for all the love they extend to me. And it's like it literally is an attack thought. And there's nothing to correct about it. Because what the ego will say was, hire someone to help you. That's what the ego wants us to do. We'll fix the illusion and then you'll feel better. What Jesus is saying, no, catch the thought that you're making yourself guilty for not being there for everyone, and correct that thought.
Amen.
Amen. And so it says, I seem to be thinking about blank. You fill in the blank. But my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. And then lesson 15 says, it is because the thoughts you think, I love that. It's because of the thoughts you think. You think you're thinking them. It's because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. All the people that appear to you, all the things people are saying and asking you to do, and because you think them, these are your thoughts, you see them as images. You don't see them as nothing. So now you're reacting to figures in a dream and you're not doing the work. And that's why I get excited all the time, because I can't believe I can buy this book for $40. Right? People say, oh my God, $40? That's ridiculously expensive. What a racket. That organization is making money. They should give it away. I'm like, $40, right? How much do we pay for coffee every other day, right? I like $6 every time I go to Starbucks. So to me, it's like, there's an excitement for me that this message is in the world and it's available and it's a self-study. So like one of the other messages that came in the Living in Purpose group yesterday was about finding a group. Finding a group to study A Course in Miracles. And there's good groups. You know, like this is a group and it's a great group. But to me, the group is you and your inner teacher. That's the group. This is a self-study. You need the book. Because otherwise, you're just going to keep waiting for the Friday group to come along so you can get some nugget of great information. But that's going piecemeal. Like you want the whole thing, right? And so if you're going to have a group, you and Jesus, or you and the Holy Spirit, or you and God, whatever you want to call it, schedule it. When does your group meet? My group meets every single morning, at least for 1 hour, every morning, without fail. It does not matter where I am or how I'm traveling. And my group also meets a couple times a week. My group often meets in the bathtub. But I meet with my inner teacher, and I let myself be led and guided. And so it says, you think them, and so you think you see them. This is not seeing, it is merely image making. It takes the place of vision, replacing vision with illusions. And then I love it. It says, Lesson 16, I have no neutral thoughts. Every thought that occurs to you is a suitable subject for today's idea. It says there's no such thing as an idle thought, because how can a thought that creates a whole world be idle? So this thought about blank is not a neutral thought. And then it said, you're only doing one of two things at all time. You're either, so you have a thought, you are either thinking about illusions, so you're thinking about the past or the future, or you're extending the truth. Those are your only two choices. So Jesus is really clear about sickness. Sickness is isolation. It's not an accident. You're not extending. You're not remembering who you are. And you don't need to extend it to other people. You need to extend it in your mind. Stop thinking about illusion. Stop thinking about that problem. Remember the truth. So extension is when you have a person in your mind, you're thinking about them, like, oh man. You're just like, I can't believe they did that. Extension is when you catch the thought and you see them whole. You see them as the truth of what they are, and that's a miracle. And then in lesson 23, I couldn't believe this. This is the first time I've seen this, is lesson 132, much later, is about escaping the world. I can loose the world from all I thought it was, and everyone thinks that's a very complicated idea. I loosed the world from all I thought it was. Well, he talks about it in lesson 23. On the 23rd day of mind training, he says, I can escape the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. So now you're finding all of your attack thoughts, and you're being willing to let them go. So I wanted to just read here. This is Cameo 18. Does anybody have a question or a comment? Want to come up here? You want to? Yeah.
So I think that this part of the course is so important because it's the crux of it. It's the fundamentals. If you get this, if you get lessons 1 through 10, I just say this all the time, but I'm going to say it again. You're going to get the whole course because 1 through 10 teaches you that your mind is thinking and preoccupied with imagery, right? The image of the past or the image of you in the future. None of which is real because it's not happening. It's just in you. So it's really important that don't just skip over it because it's such an important thing to realize that if you really grasp that and really just, pray for help with it because your ego can't get this.
Yep.
But you get it because you hear that, oh my God, this is the key. This is how it's a key to really letting go of all that I think I am and all that I think that everything around me is. It's your key to freedom. And there isn't any objective world. It's subjective. It's you thinking thoughts about it. That's where we work because that's where the key is to the undoing. And it is work. It is on my training. So that's it.
I love that. Anybody else? No? So I really wanted to just read this, not the whole thing, but some of it. This Cameo. Who has this book? Almost everybody. Oh, awesome. It's also on Kindle for $9.99. So, if you want, and if you don't even need a Kindle machine anymore. You can get it on your computer, But so if you want to get what?
You can get Kindle on your phone.
Yeah, you can get it on your phone. So if you want to get these 33, who's the best marketer in the whole wide world? But seriously, you would want to read this directly, to really see what exactly was going down on Helen Schuckman's notebooks 50 years ago as the instructions. So Helen and Bill in this section are making a lot of mistakes and they have problems. And the reason I like reading these early stories is because sometimes people have a tendency to know intellectually that Jesus has said one problem, one solution, and that's true, separation. So some people won't specifically look at their problem because they just think, oh, it's just separation. But he's working with Helen and Bill and pointing out their actual specific problems. He's not just glossing it over with like, oh, that's separation. Like he's telling Bill, like I don't know if it's in this one, but there's a story where Bill needs to catch a cab and he's with Helen and another woman, and he doesn't open the door for the other woman. And then a whole series of problems happens. The cab comes late, other problems, and Jesus tells Bill that's because he had a thought, you should open the door, or you should give the cab to her, not Helen. Like it was, or to Helen, whatever it was, it's like he heard, but he had his own agenda already running, that he was late and he had to get there, wherever he had to go. And so he didn't open the door for her, or didn't give the cab, something like that. And a whole series of problems then ensued. And Jesus said, that's because I told you to give the cab to her. There would have been another cab right behind it. He knows the whole picture, your own inner guide. But we so have our own outcome already determined before we act. And then this thing, he says, your whole problem, you forget to ask. Before every single thing you do, pause, ask me what to do. I will tell you what to do. So we're in a mind training now where at first you won't know which voice you're listening to. And you, in the beginning, you won't trust in this voice. You'll just think, this is crazy land. Like, oh my God, I'm listening to a voice and I'm like, but you'll begin to see the evidence that you are being guided perfectly. And so this is Robert Perry's, some of it is Robert Perry's commentary, and then it's mixed in with Helen's notes. So it says, the text section, asking and following, text section in the text in chapter 4, was edited from a lengthy set of personal notes that were not transcribed into the text. So they're nowhere except in here. That's cool. $40. Jesus put me in charge of the PR department, and I take my role very, very seriously. That's funny. These notes deal with Helen's difficulties with meditation and Bill's difficulties with guidance, both of which could be solved by the suspension of judgment. To make this material applicable to all students and thus suitable for the course, we had to remove about a third of it and reorder some of it as well. For this reason, it seemed appropriate to devote a Cameo essay to the discourse in its original form. So Robert's telling us that it's not even in this book, but he devoted the Cameo to giving us the most important stuff. So it says, to Helen's question about her reactions to meditation and also Bill's question, the reason for the fear reaction is quite apparent. So this is the notes. This is what came through Helen. This is not Robert Perry. You have not yet been able to suspend judgment. Yeah.
Most of the commentary that he uses.
Do you want a mic?
Just for you guys that are not aware of this, most of the commentary that Robert Perry uses came from absence from felicity.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the dreams.
So, I love that. The reason you have not yet been able to suspend judgment and have merely succeeded in weakening your control over it. Since you have an unfortunate tendency to be self-punishing, you believe that control of judgment is a self-preserving function and therefore require it as a necessary defense of yourself. Weakening this defense deliberately is thus perceived as dangerous vulnerability which frightens you. So Robert says, this is Jesus' explanation of why Helen is finding meditation frightening. In meditation, I love this, she is attempting to still her mind, to clear it of the thick web of judgments that usually clogs it. However, rather than backing off from her judgments completely, suspending them, she has only backed off far enough to loosen her control over them. The result is that her judgments have seemed to take on a life of their own. It's as if she has a case of mental Tourette syndrome, with her mind involuntarily blurting out insults. And we all have a case of that, right? We just blurt out insults. Keeping these judgments carefully in check has been a key defense of hers against self-condemnation. And this is what I love so much, is that so often on this path we're trying to be perfect little spiritual students. Like, I got to be kind and nice and a picture, an image. That's the ego's now just making a nicer image for you. So the thoughts stay hidden. You have to look at your own self-judgment and your own hatred. You must look at it. You must be shocked by it at a certain point. Like, oh my God, I cannot believe the thoughts I think about myself and others.
Thank you. I love how the 4 points you put in there: judgment, defense, attack, and then to turn within. Because for me, I think the defensive, the feeling of being defensive is the big red flag for me. Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
Somewhere in the book it talks about that as being completely made up. Yep. It's absolutely a fantasy. Mm-hmm. And so if the judgment usually leads to the comparison or the defense to mm-hmm. defend something that doesn't exist, and the separation, and then to attack would just reinforce the judgment and the defensiveness.
Exactly.
So it's all just this big elaborate illusion story that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It's really kind of funny.
I know. And then it's funny when you see it. Like, then you can laugh at it now.
Absolutely.
But it's like, that was so beautiful, John. Thank you, because this is where, like, you can really see, like, if I defend myself, I'm attacked because you're keeping your defenses in place. You're not allowing yourself to see them for what they really are, as attacks on yourself, and then having the willingness to loose them. And so, thank you, Bill. It says, let's see, meditation has become then for Helen a source of fear. And then in the notes, Bill was right that you should ask before attempting a meditation again. It would be very unwise to try it before we can do it together. I love that. So one of the things I hear a lot as a teacher too is a lot of resistance around the name and the word and the idea of Jesus. And I always just say, just allow yourself to keep an open mind and find out what works for you. Really. Like, if you have the book, it's pretty clear that he's saying, you would be much help if you recognize me as Jesus as the leader. That your own inner self, to me, it's two things. Like, Jesus to me is the Christ mind that I am. He's also the role model as the man who walked this earth 2,000 years ago. That's how Jesus is in my mind. I don't know how anybody else organizes it in their own mind, but for me, it's kind of those two things. Is Jesus the Christ I am. That's who I'm allowing to let lead. And also Jesus as a role model and as a teacher as he lived his life 2,000 years ago. So I think of him up on the cross. And I think they've beaten him, bullied him, tortured him, ridiculed him. And his final demonstration, total defenselessness. He could have hid. He could have used a miracle to go live a life. I mean, I love the movie, The Last Temptation of Christ. Who's seen that movie? Who's not seen that movie? The Last Temptation of Christ is Jesus on the cross. They show the whole crucifixion. They show the whole resurrection. The last temptation of Christ is that Jesus didn't go to the cross, and he lived out his life with Mary Magdalene and had kids. That's the last temptation of Christ, like that he could have lived a human life, that he could have decided that he was just going to live a happy life, a happy, simple, peaceful life. And it shows him getting old and dying. Shows him living the life, got the kids, got Mary. But that last demonstration is like him being all in. Like, I'm going to go face the thing that's probably totally fearful. Linda Leland just heard that. That's so funny. But, you know, it's not that we're not going to experience pain.
Imagine if he didn't do what he did, if he didn't. Yeah.
I know. She wants, you want a mic?
Just that last temptation. Imagine if he did just not step in and go all in. We
Yeah.
wouldn't, none of us would be
Exactly.
sitting here reading this, doing this.
Yep.
So,
Exactly. Thank you. Ha.
mind blown. Thank you, Jesus.
But he's up on the cross, and his final words that were recorded, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." So he was not acting as if they were his projections and that he was still guilty because he was seeing a world of attack. He knew his identity. He knew who he was, and he recognized, these are my brothers. This is my whole mind. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. That's a great role model for me. In the face of my own examples of people attacking me or whatever, that I can remember that. And then there's the compassion that comes in that moment. So it says, I assure you that I will be vigilant. Bill was right that you should ask before attempting meditation again. It would be very unwise to try it before we can do it together, as I told you last night. I assure you that I will be vigilant in identifying the right time, and I told you very clearly next time we will do it together. I did not tell you when that will be because I, Jesus, do not know. You will tell me that. So we're collaborating. That was the first initial collaboration was between Helen and Bill, which is showing us our own collaboration with ourselves and our inner teacher and our collaboration with our brothers. So it's, Jesus isn't just bossing us around. He's not a bossy leader. He's saying, let's work together, and you tell me when, you rearrange your day, and then I will be there with you to help you. You will tell me that, but may not recognize that you have done so. That is why you need me to relay your own messages back to you. When we are both ready, it cannot be fearful. So Robert writes about his commentary on that. And then in the notes, in answer to Bill's question as to why he has so much difficulty in communication, you were right in what you said in the cab, and Bill could not listen. However, he seems to be able to listen quite carefully in the notes. Ask him please to listen very carefully to these. Robert says, now Jesus turns to Bill's question, which is about why Bill has so much difficulty in communication. This probably refers to Bill's difficulty in receiving communication from Jesus. This appears to be an ongoing question for Bill. since this was the subject of the guidance with which the dictation of the course begins. It also appears that Bill has resistance to the answer, for Helen apparently touched on the answer in something said in the cab, and Bill could not listen. Since he couldn't listen to the truth when it came from her, Jesus is now hoping he will listen when it comes from him. So, I don't know if you were here a few weeks ago. I was telling the story of how Helen was she's really training herself to listen to the voice and stop herself before she takes an action, finds out what to do. So she's about to go call Bill on the phone. She remembers to pause. When should I call Bill? The voice says, finish the notes. I'm going to try to reach Bill to tell Bill to call you. But if Bill's not listening, you call him at 4. So that mind is trying to get through to all of us all the time, but we're not listening. You have a thought, call so-and-so, and the mind has already, in judgment of what you think your plan is for the day, and you think, I'm too busy. And so then a whole chain of problems now starts until you start to learn how to listen and ask. And then you start to trust in that. When it says move, you move. You don't put a course concept in there like I need do nothing, which is what a lot of people do. They just think it's an illusion, there's no world, I need do nothing. And then you wonder why you have money problems and why you have pain and sickness and problems. It's because that's the truth, like the overarching truth. But the truth is that as long as you're not experiencing total joy and peace, you need to work with your mind to find the blocks. So it says, let's see. If you ask me for guidance, if you ask me, Jesus, for guidance, you have signified your willingness to give over your own control, at least to some extent. Your frequent failure to ask at all indicates that at such times you are not willing to go even that far. How many of you have a consistent asking practice? Yeah, not many of us. I don't. That's just me being honest. It's like we're so much on our old habits. But I'm more and more like, what? What'd you say?
I said more than before, but not all the time.
Yeah.
Because all the time I shut my mouth on a constant basis.
But you begin to see the pain you feel when you don't ask, so you get quicker and quicker with asking. Yep.
In my experience, your evolution of your intimate connection with Source changes. And in my asking, it's happening in the pause. The asking is happening in the quiet space, because that's where God's voice speaks to me in the quiet. And so it doesn't require a verbal, oh, Jesus, what should I do here? God, I don't know what to do. I mean, you can use a question, and questions can be very effective. It's not all, like I said, for me, it's an evolution, and the pause is resting in God. The pause is abiding in Creator, in Source.
Yep.
And that is synonymous with asking.
Yep. Yep. And that is the experience. At first, it is like that there's a Jesus outside of you and there's a you. And so at first, in the beginning, as you're training, it does look like that. But then it becomes more integrated, where it's just a listening within and there's a movement.
No, I just wanted to add to that. Is this on?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that. That's the part of my mind training has been tools that get me to the pause. And I just came back from Maui, and I spent a couple weeks there with friends. And when I left, I had about 6 women using the tool. And the tool that I use is, I got nothing. And it's just a simple verbal thing to put me in the pause. It's just to turn off the thinker. And that's where
Yeah.
that's where I receive inspiration.
Yeah.
I want to stay there. Doesn't happen.
Did you have something, Irene?
Oh,
Is that on?
I can't remember whether we talked about this with Kelly or not, but I think one of the things that happens to us is you begin to hear the truth and it scares you because it doesn't look like the illusion. You want to keep going. And so the truth is rising and then the ego is going, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I think that's called anxiety.
Yep.
And then what happens is everybody wants to medicate it
Yep.
because you want to still it, but what you're doing is you're freezing it in place. It's scary to hear the truth.
Yep.
So something that I guess I teach, I don't know, but it's to pray for the willingness to be willing. There's a step before that sometimes. Just let me have the willingness to be willing to sit with this
Yep.
or listen to this or just stand in the possibility of this.
Yep. I love it. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a big one. That so much of like the false belief in what a spiritual path or an awakening looks like is that it's supposed to feel good. But it's a dismantling. We're here to dismantle your mind. And I always love the joke that Diane Crosser said, and it's funny, there's so much cake over there, but Diane said to me one time, she's like, you tricked us. You're like, come to the Friday group, it'll be cake, it'll be so fun. Oh my God, it's a party. And then she said, you get us here and we didn't realize that you're here to dismantle our minds.
I just want to say something because recently, my path is open for 10 years. Oh, I'm sorry. But books fall on my plate, and I had a tough time with Jesus. I'll be honest, because just society, period, religion, period. But he has fallen on my plate hard. And I recently just finished a book. It's called Jesus and Buddha Were Friends.
Oh yeah, Gary Renard.
Oh, I love you guys.
Yeah.
I'm such in the right place. This is
Yeah.
this is so great. I just wanted that totally, completely, because that's exactly what I thought. How I look at him as a great mentor, and I always thought that, but I lived in Florida down south with Christians that are killers, preaching the Bible as they're beating people with bats when I pull up to the driveway. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Been through a lot to get here, and I'm very grateful.
I'm so glad. Thank you. What's your name?
Tamara.
Tamara. Welcome.
And now that you brought it back to that, I agree, because I used to be in AA, and when someone would say Jesus, the hair would go up on the back of my neck, and it would rile me, just rile me. Because I grew up with a punishing God, and I grew up with the church where, look who's up on the cross, look what you did to him. And it never rang with me. Even as a child, I'd see that, and I'd be like, that is the sickest thing I've ever seen in my life. I remember being 5 and saying, here's some guy nailed to a cross, what? And once I started doing the Course in Miracles in you, because you brought the Jesus, my friend and brother, to me, Lisa, you did. Because you showed me that he's the same as Buddha. He's a teacher that walked the earth. And honestly, we're driving up here, and we went by a thing, and it said, Jesus is a crucifixion, right? And I said, oh my God, cut the shit.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't I say that?
She did.
Yeah.
And I said, that is, to put that on a banner is so stupid. He's a resurrection. Yes. And it's still being done.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about it, I used to have such a bad feeling about it, and today he's my friend.
Yeah.
Today he's my brother.
Yep.
Today he connects me to the Christ mind, because I never knew there was a thing called the Christ mind. I thought because people said Jesus Christ, that he was the only one and the only son. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart on your 50th birthday for bringing me into the 40 days to find my brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I just want to finish this. We're right at the end of our time. I just want to read a couple more things here. Okay, so this is about, I'm just going to read this one paragraph, and then again, I really encourage everyone to read it. and have fun with this. This is really for you. It says, when you fail to ask for guidance, which Bill and Helen, along with the rest of us, frequently do, it is because you don't want to give over control of the situation. Is that true? You don't want to give over control. You already have the outcome you want. You have already written the script for how you want everyone in your script to play out your part that you've written for them, and how they're going to show up in your life, and the movie's already in the works. So you don't want to give up your control of things going a different way, and that's why you don't ask. And that's why we have problems. So conversely, when you do ask for guidance, that shows that you have at least some willingness to give up control and to instead cooperate with Jesus. This willingness. Oh no, I don't want to say that. I don't want to do that. And it's a dismantling of your own stuck thought system. And it sucks. It does. It hurts. It's painful. My experience of it, it does result in physical pain for a moment in some things. It's like old memories are just moving through. But what we want to do is we can't stand the discomfort, so we try to lessen the pain. We take a pill, and I'm not saying taking the pill's wrong, because it's definitely not. But we so don't want to experience the discomfort and stand in it. When we're with a brother, and the brother is saying something to you that you don't like, we just tell a story about it, and we're just like, oh, they don't get it. They need to do A Course in Miracles. And off we go into our happy little land. But it's like, if you're willing to stand in the discomfort and listen to what is being shown to you through your brother, and stand there, be still, and trust, then you see how quickly it passes. Like you're really just standing right there in front of your own fear, and having the willingness to let it be dissolved. So it says, I'm just going to read this one paragraph. You, Helen, asked merely what you should do now. The answer was to tell Jack, so Jack was her cab driver, her limo driver that she had. The answer was to tell Jack to pick you up at 3. Bill's reaction to this was unfortunate, and yours was much more constructive, making it particularly unfortunate that Bill accepted your very correct response to his reaction with irritation. So Bill had another idea. Helen wanted to get home. Helen was going to call her driver, Jack. Bill wanted Helen to go to his apartment instead and not call Jack. So he's now not trusting in the guidance that's coming to Helen. And that happens all the time. So it says, but this wasn't, so the irritation was inevitable. This was inevitable because he had already given way to fear. Then you, Helen, reacted to his mistake with irritation. So that's what I was saying. Like, how often do you get sucked into other people's dramas? So they're irritated, and now I'm irritated. One irritation is enough, right? But that's really like where the pause is really, that's a brilliant, brilliant practice, because it's like you recognize, Kelly was saying, you recognize, you have the ability to zip it up. Before you say anything, you're just like, before you have, I love this, what it says, mental Tourette syndrome, where the mind involuntarily blurts out insults. And you have the ability, because you're so powerful, to just shut up. That's what Kelly was saying. She was just like, and then, one moment. And then it says, so the irritation was inevitable because Bill had already given way to fear. Then you reacted to his mistake with irritation, and we, Jesus and Helen, lost our communication. For a time, let us try to reestablish our connection now. Bill was unwise in deciding on his own that unless you went to his apartment, Jack would be in trouble. This association meant that he saw only one alternative and was unable to keep an open mind. Certainly, he should be confident that any guidance which comes from me, Jesus, will not jeopardize anyone. It should also be noted that he projected his misperception onto you, assuming that you were counting on magic to get Jack to take you home in spite of the traffic and not realizing the situation as it is. I would like to tell him, for you, that this was a misperception of his, and although you have done this at times in the past, you were not doing it then. As you very correctly stated, but Bill could not listen at that time, you were merely reporting a message for which you had asked and were not judging the outcome. Bill was. If you can continue not to evaluate my messages and merely follow them, they will lead to good for everyone. Since this is the same area of difficulty which is causing both of you trouble with meditation, practice in this is essential. So I'm going to stop there. And Monica?
Just to add to that, I mean, you know, what he's really trying to get you to do is get out of the way so the guidance coming through you can be felt and understood and followed. Because when you do follow it, amazing things happen, right? I mean, when I started hearing the voice, it was really strong in my head. I was in New York and I was like, ugh, this voice is telling me to quit my job and go work for Marianne Williamson. I'm like, how do I do that? But the next thing I knew, I was writing her a letter and I was meeting her at a retreat and she hired me. And it was just like, I had no idea how to do that. It scared the crap out of me. I was like, how do I do this? But, you know, it was just like, you don't know what you're even asking for, right? You're asking for far greater than you even think. So follow the guidance, because you getting in the way of it is really just a waste of time, really. Because eventually you're going to listen anyway.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to stay here in this place of fear, you know. Just open it up. Like, the opportunities are always coming to you for greater happiness and joy, and you don't know how to give that to yourself.
Yep.
So anyway.
Thank you so much. And that's the truth. Like, to me, it's always about the direct experience. You cannot see Jesus. You cannot see this invisible presence and power, but you will see the effects of your collaboration with this presence and this power. So you're joining now, and it defies logic. So when I first started, I had major resistance to Jesus. Major resistance to God. I used to think, Jesus didn't need Jesus to get to God. I'm going to go to God directly. I don't need a Holy Spirit. I was like, Jesus didn't need the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit came after Jesus, so I don't need the Holy Spirit either. That was the logic of my ego mind. But then I started just seeing how difficult my life is, and I was like, why would I have resistance to at least experimenting with maybe there's a presence and a power with me that loves me? And what I started to see was Jesus loves to surprise us. He loves to help us. I'm getting this signal from the back. One more.
I just want to say one thing real quick, because I know there's a lot of new people and we get questions about, I don't hear God's voice. So just maybe if you want to address that for a minute. I mean, I know for me, it's my voice. It's a feeling. It's a clear direction one way or the other. And it's not someone, Linda, I need you to, I need you to take this next step. So, because people say, I'm not hearing it, but the more you start to do the work with unblocking, the more clear and vivid that your own voice, your own feeling, your own direction actually is. And it's just as vivid when you're not on it, like you're not.
Yeah, I think that everyone hears the voice differently, so I can't answer the question. Like, I hear it the same way you do, usually, as my own voice, my own thoughts. But some people hear voice. Some people hear...
There's so many people that get discouraged. Like, I'm trying to hear it, but I just want to put that out there. That it might not be audible like that.
To me, the ego that's a little ego trick to try to hear God's voice. God's voice is speaking to you all through the day, in everyone, in every situation. And so to me, the answer is to do the workbook lessons. That's to me, like, to do the mind training, to not try to skip over to get to the, the result. Like, just say, okay, I'm going to train my mind. I'm going to schedule times during the day for listening. And I'm going to adhere to those times. And I'm going to start to really, to me, it's just about that first acknowledgement that maybe there is a power and a presence. That's, to me, if you can do that, you'll start hearing, really. So, I love you guys online. How many people online?
There was over 100. It's down to 75.
That's awesome. And thank you all so much for all the birthday love and just really celebrating this with me. There's tons of food over here. I'm so excited.
Many online chat, a lot of chat said happy birthday.
Thank you guys.
Birthdays, and I love you and thank you and bless you. And
Bill, who saw the video this morning of Bill? Bill took a video of me. So Bill yesterday, on my birthday, May 2nd, it was my 50th birthday, and Bill decorated the whole living room area with these streamers and a big birthday tree, this birthday tree, and so I'm coming down the stairs at 6 a.m. and in my robe, and what's so funny to me is that my hair in the morning is usually like, but I woke up in the morning on May 2nd, and on the floor was my headband and also a clip. I've never seen the headband and the clip on the floor like that. So I thought, I'm going to put my hair up this morning. So I put my hair up, and then I was like, I think I'll just pull it all the way back. So now it's not messy at all. It looks okay. So I go downstairs, and I was like, and I told Bill the day. You're not planning a surprise party, are you? Because I really don't want one. I really don't. He goes, no, I swear I'm not. And I'm like, I said, it would be okay, I guess, if you were doing that, but I just want to keep it simple. He's like, I swear, no surprise parties. I'm like, good.
I said
there might be a surprise. So I come down the stairs, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just being me. And I said to Bill, we need to get a videotape of this. And he goes, you're being filmed over there. I'm like, oh my God. So he got the whole thing on film. It's up on Facebook. I'll probably send it out to my mailing list, but good job. So I love you all. So we can rise. We'll do our closing prayer. Let's see. Irene, do you want to do the prayer?
Sure.
Gorgeous Irene. And if anybody would like to make a donation, we super appreciate your generosity. Helps us pay for the space, the live stream. On live stream, there's a donate button at the Teachers of God Foundation. And we say the unity, blessing of the tides, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you.
Okay, so let's take a deep breath. A breath wherever you are, right in this moment in time. Whether you're here or live streaming, out on the planet, out on the other planets, wherever you are, take a deep breath. Breathe in. And in that breath, remember that you are, God is. And just listen. Listen to the quiet. Listen to the knowing. Listen to the stillness. Know that trusting is the action. For this, we all just say, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for being our guide. And we're so proud of ourselves for bringing you into our illusions. We're really a very clever group. It seems just appropriate that we should sing worldwide. Happy birthday to you. Happy
birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Lisa. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, I love you guys.
So it
Thank
is.
you. Thank you, Irene.